How often must you renew your Florida Boater Education Card? In the state of Florida, there is something that you should bring with you all the time, except in some instances, when boating. Or else you could end up paying a fine if it's not available for inspection. It's called the Florida Boater Education Card, also known as Florida Boating Safety ID Card or Florida Boater Card. It serves as proof that you have in fact successfully completed the boating safety course required by the law. You may be wondering how often your Florida Boater Education Card must be renewed to make sure that you are not breaking any law when boating. Well, you're in the right place at the right time. Keep watching and we will have that answered. In addition, you will also come across some other pertinent information that has something to do with the Florida Boater Education Card, such as how to get one, when to carry it with you, and who is exempted from having it. So continue watching. Before we get started, be sure to catch one of these lucky Uluar fishing t-shirt. Visit uluar.com for your lucky Uluar t-shirt. Let's get started. Florida Boater Education Card is not a license. Everyone knows that licenses have to be renewed after some time to keep them valid. It's a time and energy consuming task that has to be done periodically. But that's okay, as it's just a small price to pay for anyone who wishes to dodge tickets, fines and even being arrested. The good news is that if you are a serious or casual boater in Florida, there is one less task that you have to worry about. And that's getting your Florida Boater Education Card renewed. Yes, you've read that right. There is absolutely no need for you to renew your Florida Boater Education Card. So in other words, it's something that is valid for as long as you're breathing. Do take note that the Florida Boater Education Card is not considered as a boating license, which is something that does not really exist in the state of Florida. Who needs it? If you are planning on operating a boat with an engine of 10 horsepower or more in Florida, then you should apply for a Florida Boater Education Card, which is something that you should take with you each time you hop onto a vessel. An enforcement officer may check its availability at any given time. Having the Florida Boater Education Card means that you have undergone the required boating safety course and passed the test by getting a grade of 80% or higher. According to the law, you should get a Florida Boater Education Card if you were born on or after January 1, 1988, and, as mentioned earlier, you will be operating in Florida waters a boat with an engine of 10 horsepower or more. There is no minimum age requirement to get it, and you may apply for it even if you're not a Florida resident. An exception to the rule: just because you are planning on boating in the state of Florida, using something with a 10 horsepower or more engine doesn't necessarily mean that you should have with you a Florida Boater Education Card. There is no need for you to have it if you are operating a boat on a privately owned pond or lake, operating a boat within 90 days after purchasing it, and you have the bill of sale with you accompanied by someone who is exempt from having the Florida Boater Education Card, accompanied by an adult with the Florida Boater Education Card, and attends to the vessel's operation. You are licensed as a master of a vessel by the U.S. Coast Guard unless any of the above-mentioned conditions are met. You need to have a Florida Boater Education Card and bring it with you when boating. Failure to present one when an enforcement officer approaches you and asks to see your Florida Boater Education Card can result in a fine. Not a Florida resident, there are so many different fun and exciting water activities to do in Florida, from snorkeling, jet skiing to fishing. It's for this reason why the state of Florida is regarded as the boating capital of the world. If you are from somewhere else and you cannot wait to go boating in one of the many amazing waters of Florida, no one can blame you. But this brings us to a pressing question that you may want to ask right now. Before you go boating in the Sunshine State, should you first complete the boating safety course and pass the exam to have your Florida Boater Education Card? Well, you'll be glad to know that you don't really have to have the Florida Boater Education Card, courtesy of what's referred to as reciprocity. Put simply, this reciprocity allows you to operate a vessel for as long as you have with you any boating education card that meets the requirements of the National Association of State Boating Law Administrators (NASBLA). If you are from Canada, there's no need to have a Florida Boater Education Card if you have a Canadian Pleasure Craft Operator Card that meets the requirements of Transport Canada. The takeaway: once you're issued with your Florida Boater Education Card, it's valid for life. there is absolutely no need for you to have it renewed on a regular basis just to keep its validity intact. You need to bring with you on board your Florida Boater Education Card to make sure that you will be able to present it should an enforcement officer asks to see it. However, there are cases in which having a Florida Boater Education Card is not necessary for you to legally operate a boat in the state of Florida. By the way, it's really trouble-free to get your Florida Boater Education Card these days, as such can be done via the internet. All you have to do is take the online course with a one-time payment and pass the exam. You should correctly answer at least 48 of the 60 questions for you to have a passing grade. And get your printable temporary Florida Boater Education Card immediately. The permanent card is usually issued after 3 to 5 weeks. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe for more useful fishing information.